The first thing Sofia Ramirez said while sitting on my chest was, "You're holding your breath." The second was, "And no, Grant, this does not count as a date." Half the evening class laughed. I would have answered, but my jiu-jitsu instructor had my right arm trapped against the mat, one knee tight beside my ribs, and her weight positioned with the kind of precision that made breathing feel like an optional upgrade. I was 25 years old, reasonably fit, and employed as a structural engineer. People paid me to calculate how much pressure buildings could take before something failed. That night, under Sophia, I learned the answer for me was apparently 128 pounds and a raised eyebrow. "Tap if you need to," she said. "I'm fine." "You're turning purple." Team color. Her mouth twitched. That tiny, almost smile was the real problem. Sophia was 27, a brown belt, and one of 3 instructors at Harbor Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego. She had dark hair braided down the back of a charcoal rash guard, a thin scar across her left eyebrow, and the unnerving ability to make a room full of stubborn adults listen without ever raising her voice. She also smelled faintly of citrus soap, which was not information I had wanted my brain to record while she was demonstrating how easily she could detach my shoulder. "Watch his elbow," she told the class. "Please don't," I muttered. "They need to learn. Find a less handsome volunteer." This time she laughed, not the polite breath she gave nervous beginners. A real laugh, quick and warm, close enough that I felt it against my throat. Then her eyes met mine. The room didn't vanish. That only happens in movies and untreated head injuries. I could still hear bare feet shifting on the mats and somebody's water bottle tipping over near the wall. But something changed. Sophia's grip loosened slightly. Her face was only inches above mine, and for one suspended second, she wasn't looking at me like an instructor checking a student's position. She was looking at my mouth. I knew, because I was looking at hers. "Coach?" someone called. Sophia released me so quickly that my arm dropped to the mat. "And that," she said, rising, "is why you don't leave space." I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if the lesson had been about grappling or emotional self-destruction. 3 months earlier, my older brother had bought me a trial week at Harbor, after deciding I was becoming the kind of divorced guy who owns one good pan and talks to the grocery cashier too long. For the record, I wasn't divorced. My engagement had ended 8 months before the wedding, which meant I had achieved all the emotional damage without receiving a toaster. My former fiancée, Natalie, had told me I was dependable, kind, and impossible to get close to. That last part stayed with me because it was true. I'd grown up in a house where disagreements were handled through closed doors and aggressively washed dishes. I became good at being useful. Fix the sink. Drive through the night. Remember everyone's birthday. Just never admit when I needed anything. Jiu-jitsu was my brother's solution. "Go let strangers try to choke you," he'd said. "Maybe you'll develop a personality." I nearly quit after my first class. Then Sophia knelt beside me while I fumbled with my borrowed belt and said, "Nobody walks in knowing how to do this. The only embarrassing thing is pretending you don't need help." She'd been talking about the knot. It still felt personal. By my 4th week, she knew I favored my left shoulder, hated being trapped under heavier partners, and used jokes whenever I was frustrated. By my 8th, I knew she drank terrible vending machine coffee, hummed old soul songs while cleaning the mats, and became fiercely patient with anyone who was scared. That was why I was attracted to her. The fact that she was beautiful didn't help, but beauty wasn't what made me arrive early on Tuesdays. It was the way she noticed people. After the demonstration, Sophia paired everyone for positional rounds. She put me with Derek, an accountant built like a refrigerator, then stood nearby while I tried to escape from underneath him. "Frame at the hip," she said. "I'm framing. He's ignoring my artistic vision." Derek laughed and shifted his weight. "Stop trying to bench press him," Sophia said. "Make space, then move." I make space all the time. It's my defining relationship skill. The joke came out before I could stop it. Sophia's expression changed. Derek didn't notice. He was busy attempting to fold me into carry-on luggage. "Time," she called 30 seconds early. When class ended, everyone lined up, bowed out, and drifted toward the changing rooms. I stayed behind to wipe down the mats. It wasn't entirely altruistic. Sofia usually stayed too. She tossed me a spray bottle. You volunteered very quickly. I care about hygiene. You care about avoiding rush hour traffic. Two things can be true. We worked from opposite ends of the room. Outside, rain streaked the front windows, blurring the headlights on the street. The gym felt different when it was quiet, less like a training room and more like a secret we were temporarily sharing. Sofia broke the silence first. Was that joke true? I kept wiping the same section of mat. Which one? I produced several high-quality options tonight. The one about making space in relationships. There are people who ask personal questions because they're curious. Sofia asked them like she was prepared to respect whatever answer you gave. That's what my ex said, I admitted. Not in those exact words. What words did she use? Impossible to get close to. Sofia leaned on the mop handle. Was she right? Probably. That's convenient. I looked over. Convenient? If you decide you're impossible, you never have to risk proving yourself wrong. There was no cruelty in it. That made it land harder. You always psychoanalyze white belts after class? Only the ones who flirt during arm lock demonstrations. My hand stopped. She seemed to realize what she'd said at the same moment I did. A faint flush climbed into her cheeks, but she didn't look away. I was trying to distract you, and I said, it worked. 3 seconds of silence can be longer than a bad marriage. Sofia set the mop against the wall and came closer. Not mat demo close. Close enough that I could see a loose strand of hair stuck to her cheek. Then she reached for my wrist. My pulse jumped against her fingers. You're sore here, she said, pressing gently near the joint. It was a perfectly reasonable instructor thing to do. The way her thumb lingered wasn't. You looked at my mouth, I said quietly. Sofia's eyes lifted to mine. I should have taken it back. Made another joke. Given both of us an exit. For once, I didn't. You looked at mine first, she said. The rain tapped harder against the windows. I turned my hand inside hers, not grabbing, just letting our palms meet. She looked down at them. When she looked back up, the warmth in her face had been replaced by something more careful. I'm your instructor, Grant. I know. That matters. I know that too. Her fingers tightened once around mine before she stepped away. It wasn't rejection. Rejection would have been easier. She walked to the front desk, opened a drawer, and took out a white envelope with the gym owner's name written across it. She held it for a moment, then faced me. I was going to give this to Marcus tomorrow, she said. What is it? My notice. The answer hit harder than Derek had. You're leaving? In 2 weeks. Why? Sofia studied me with an expression I couldn't read. Then she slipped the envelope back into the drawer instead of leaving it on the desk. Have coffee with me after class tomorrow, she said. Somewhere I'm not standing barefoot on a mat telling you what to do. I tried to keep my voice steady. Is that an instructor meeting? No. For the first time that night, she smiled without holding any of it back. And Grant? Tomorrow don't flirt while I'm pinning you. Why not? She picked up her gym bag and opened the door to the rain. Because next time, she said, glancing back at me, I might forget to let you up. For the next 23 hours, I analyzed Sofia's coffee invitation like it was a damaged support beam. Maybe she only wanted to explain why she was leaving. Maybe no had meant it wasn't an instructor meeting, but also wasn't a date. Maybe the part about forgetting to let me up had been a threat. It was an effective threat. I thought about it through 2 projects, meetings, a traffic study, and a phone call from my brother, in which I said, so many times, he asked if I'd joined a cult. When I reached Harbor the next evening, Sofia wasn't wearing her usual charcoal training gear. She was in jeans, white sneakers, and a green sweater that made the warm brown of her eyes impossible to ignore. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. I stopped inside the door. She looked up from the front desk. You're late. I checked the clock. I'm 12 minutes early. Then why have I been waiting? That erased several of my doubts. You're not teaching? Marcus is covering. She nodded toward the mat where the gym owner was demonstrating a hip escape. He glanced over and gave me a look containing more amusement than I wanted from a man capable of strangling me with my own jacket. You told him? I asked. I gave him my notice this morning. I also told him I won't be coaching or evaluating you during my final 2 weeks. My chest tightened, not from disappointment exactly, but from the weight of what she'd done. Because of me? Sofia stood. No. I resigned because it's the right decision for my career. That letter was written before you started flirting from the bottom of Mount. So, my devastating charm had no influence? Your devastating charm made me put the envelope back in the drawer for one night because I didn't want to make an important decision while thinking about your mouth. Every clever answer abandoned me. She came around the desk, lowering her voice. But removing myself as your instructor, she continued, that was because of you. In a good way? Her gaze dropped briefly to my lips. Ask me after coffee. I changed in record time. Marcus ran class differently from Sofia. He was louder, faster, and fond of saying things like suffering builds technique, which sounded suspiciously unscientific. Sofia stayed near the front desk, finishing paperwork. I tried not to look at her. I failed often enough that Marcus finally said, Grant, unless the emergency exit is flirting with you, face your partner. My partner snorted. Sofia didn't look up, but I saw her smile. After class, I showered and changed into the least wrinkled shirt in my gym bag. When I emerged, Sofia was holding my jacket. You brought a button-down to jiu-jitsu? I came prepared. It has one sleeve inside out. I came emotionally prepared. She laughed and fixed it for me. The gesture was small, but her fingers brushing my shoulder felt more intimate than the pin had. On the mat, touch had rules. Pressure meant escape. A grip meant counter. Standing near the cubbies while she smoothed my collar, I had no technique for what to do with my hands. There, she said. Neither of us moved. You missed a spot. I touched the loose strand of hair beside her cheek, gently tucking it back. Sofia's breath caught. Then Marcus dropped a ring of keys at the desk. We stepped apart like teenagers. The alarm sets itself at 10, he said, without looking at us. Please make responsible choices in the parking lot. Good night, Marcus, Sofia said firmly. He left whistling. The cafe was 2 blocks away, a narrow place with mismatched chairs and hanging plants. Rain had stopped, leaving the sidewalks glossy beneath the streetlights. Sofia chose a table by the window. I ordered black coffee. She stared at my cup. That's upsetting. You drink vending machine coffee. Yes, but I add enough cream to conceal the evidence. She ordered a cinnamon latte and tore the paper sleeve into tiny strips while we talked. Sofia had started jiu-jitsu at 16 after her cousin dragged her to a class. She'd planned to become a physical therapist, but coaching took over her life one class at a time. People think fighting is about aggression, she said. Most beginners come in already fighting themselves. They're embarrassed to be weak or scared or bad at something. And you like helping them through that. I like seeing the moment they realize fear isn't a command. She said it quietly, looking into her cup. I knew then that she wasn't merely good at teaching. She believed in what it could give people. So, why leave Harbor? Her fingers tightened around the paper sleeve. I've been offered a chance to open another school. That sounds good. It's terrifying. The admission seemed to cost her. A friend owns a boxing gym in North Park. The space next door became available. We've talked for years about expanding, jiu-jitsu, beginner programs, practical self-defense. A place that doesn't treat women's classes like a side project, squeezed between the real sessions. You should do it. You haven't seen the numbers? I don't need to. That is a concerning statement from an engineer. I've seen you teach. Sofia went still. You make people feel capable before they believe it themselves, I said. That's not a side project. Her eyes shone and she glanced toward the window. For a moment I worried I'd pushed too hard. Then she slid one hand across the little table, palm up. It was not an accident or an instructor checking a sore wrist. It was a choice. I put my hand in hers. You do that, she said. What? Say something sincere, then look like you want to escape through a wall. I'm working on it. Are you? I could have made a joke. Instead, I tightened my fingers around hers. I want to be. Sophia studied me, giving me the same focused attention she did on the mat. There was nowhere to hide inside it. My last relationship ended because he wanted the easy version of me, she said. The confident coach, the woman who could handle everything. When I got scared about money or my father got sick and I needed someone, he acted like I'd changed the agreement. I'm sorry. I don't need you to be sorry. Her thumb moved against mine. I need to know whether your instinct to make space means you'll disappear the first time this gets uncomfortable. This? You and me. Hearing her name, it sent a current through me. I might get scared, I said. I might say the wrong thing. I'm apparently terrible at collars. True. But I don't want easy, Sophia. What do you want? You. No joke, no exit. Just the truth sitting between us. Her lips parted. Then she stood, still holding my hand, and pulled me toward the door. Did I answer incorrectly? No, she said. You answered very well. Outside, the air smelled like rain and wet pavement. We stopped beneath the cafe awning. Cars passed in soft sprays of water. Sophia moved close enough that the front of her sweater touched my shirt. For clarity, she said, I'm not your instructor anymore. Marcus still has to approve my next belt. That's his problem. And this is a date? Yes. A successful one? Grant. Yes? Kiss me before you turn this into paperwork. I touched her cheek, giving her time to change her mind. She didn't. Sophia rose onto her toes and closed the distance herself. Her mouth was warm and faintly sweet from cinnamon. The kiss began carefully, almost cautiously. Then her hand slid behind my neck and every guarded thought in my head went quiet. When we separated, she stayed close, forehead resting against mine. I smiled. Was that an approved technique? Your form needs work. Could use private coaching. She gave me a warning look that failed because she was smiling too. Then her expression softened. Come somewhere with me Saturday. Another date? I want to show you the new space. The school she hadn't opened. The future that scared her. That was more than another date. She was inviting me into the part of her life she didn't know how to carry alone. I'll be there, I said. Sophia searched my face as if checking for hesitation. Then she kissed me again. This time, neither of us was careful. The new school had cracked linoleum, fluorescent lights that buzzed like trapped insects, and a front window displaying the faded outline of a tax preparation sign. Sophia stood in the center of it with both arms extended. What do you think? I took in the exposed ceiling, the water stain near the rear wall, and an electrical panel old enough to remember disco. I think it's perfect. She narrowed her eyes. You're lying. I think you're perfect. The building needs work. That was smoother than your jiu-jitsu. Most things are. Saturday sunlight came through the dusty windows. Sophia wore paint-stained jeans, a black t-shirt, and her hair twisted into a knot. She had texted me the address that morning with one instruction. Don't bring tools. I had brought coffee and pastries instead. She accepted the latte, checked the label, and smiled when she saw cinnamon. You remembered. I remember things. I've noticed. The space was larger than it looked from the street. Beyond the main training floor were 2 changing rooms, an office, and a narrow back area Sophia imagined filling with heavy bags. As she showed me around, she came alive. She described beginner classes, open mats, weekend workshops, and a 6-week program for people who were too intimidated to walk into a traditional martial arts school. Her hands moved when she got excited. She kept forgetting her coffee on random ledges, and I kept carrying it after her. This wall comes down, she said, tapping the partition beside the office. At least, I hope it does. Do you want the engineer answer or the date answer? Are they different? The date answer says you can do anything you want. And the engineer? Would like to see what's holding up the roof first. She bumped her shoulder against mine. That's why I invited you. The words caused a small, unreasonable drop in my chest. Sophia noticed. That came out wrong, she said. No, it didn't. Yes, it did. She took her coffee from my hand and set it aside. I didn't invite you for free structural advice. Good. I charge by the pastry. Grant! The empty room made my name echo. Sofia moved in front of me. I invited you because when I imagined showing this place to someone, you were the person I wanted standing here. There were probably more elegant responses than kissing her. I didn't use one. My hand settled at her waist, hers sliding up my chest as I backed her gently against the questionable wall. It shifted. We jumped apart. A thin piece of trim dropped to the floor between us. Sofia stared at it. You broke my gym. You distracted a licensed professional. You attacked the wall. I was motivated. She started laughing. I joined her, and soon we were leaning into each other in the middle of the dusty room, laughing harder than the situation deserved. It was the first time in years I could remember not feeling responsible for keeping a moment under control. When our laughter faded, Sofia left her arms around my waist. My father thinks I'm making a mistake, she said. The confession arrived so quietly I almost missed it. Because of the building? Because of all of it. He wanted me to finish physical therapy school, benefits, steady paycheck, respectable letters after my name. Coaching is respectable. To me. To anyone whose opinion deserves weight. She rested her cheek against my chest. His opinion has a lot of weight, she said. He raised me by himself, worked nights, never missed a tournament, even when he didn't understand why I loved it. So part of you feels like choosing this means rejecting what he sacrificed for. Her head lifted. You do that? What? Understand things I haven't explained yet. Occupational hazard, I study pressure. Buildings. People aren't that different. She considered that. Buildings don't pretend they're fine. Neither do I. Sofia gave me a look. Not convincingly, I added. We sat on the edge of the raised office platform and shared an almond croissant. She told me her father's health had improved after a difficult year, but the fear had changed her. She'd spent so long being competent for everyone else that admitting uncertainty felt like failure. I told her about my parents' silent dinners and my habit of becoming indispensable instead of vulnerable. My ex loved that at first, I said. I booked trips, handled bills, repaired things. Then one day she asked what I needed from her and I couldn't answer. Couldn't or wouldn't? Both. Sofia brushed sugar from my thumb. What do you need from me? My first instinct was to say nothing. I felt it rise, the old reflex polished by years of use. Sofia waited. I need you to tell me when I'm hiding, I said. Even if I get defensive. You will. I know. What else? I need this not to be a test. I'm always one mistake away from failing. Her expression softened. You're allowed to be bad at this, she said. Dating you? Being known. The words found a place in me I usually kept locked. I turned my hand and kissed her palm. She leaned forward until her forehead touched mine. And for the record, I don't need you to fix this place. I know. I may ask for advice. I'll give it. I may panic. I'll listen. You may panic. I'll make an excellent spreadsheet. She pinched my side. I caught her wrist on instinct. Her eyes flashed with playful challenge. That grip is terrible, she said. I'm off duty. You were never on duty. Sofia twisted free, caught my arm, and pulled me from the platform onto a stack of sample mats left by the former tenant. 30 seconds later, I was flat on my back. She settled into mount, knees on either side of my hips, palms braced lightly against my chest. This feels familiar, I said. You're still holding your breath. You're still sitting on me. Her hair had come loose, falling around her face. There was no class watching now, no one waiting for the next step of a demonstration. Only us in the bright, empty room. Sofia lowered herself until her mouth was close to my ear. You said it felt different when I pinned you. It did. Why? Because you didn't look at me like a student. Her lips brushed the corner of my jaw. How did I look at you? Like you wanted me. She drew back just far enough to meet my eyes. I did. The honesty in her voice stripped away the banter. And now? I asked. Sofia took my hand and guided it to her waist. Now I don't have to pretend I don't. I rose to meet her kiss. It was slower than the one outside the cafe, but deeper. Her fingers threaded through my hair and her weight settled against me, not as pressure I needed to escape, but as closeness I wanted to hold. When the kiss ended, she stayed on top of me, smiling. You're not trying to get out. Maybe my defense is improving. That is not defense. No, I said, sliding my hand gently up her back. It isn't. We spent the afternoon measuring walls and writing ideas directly onto the dusty floor with chalk. We ate tacos on the curb outside. Sofia stole mine after insisting she wasn't hungry, then kissed me to stop my complaints. At sunset, she locked the front door. Then she placed a second key in my palm. I stared at it. It's not a marriage proposal, she said. The contractor starts Monday. I can't always get away from Harbor, and someone needs to let him in Wednesday. The old tension returned before I could stop it. A key. A responsibility. A place in her plans after 2 dates. Sofia saw my hand close, but not my face. You can say no. I know. Her shoulders shifted back, preparing for distance before I'd even created it. That hurt more than the fear. I'm scared, I admitted. She looked at me. Not of the contractor, I continued. He sounds unpredictable. Grant. I like you enough that this already feels important. Important things are where I usually become extremely useful until nobody notices I'm terrified. Sofia stepped closer. I notice. That's what scares me. She covered my closed fist with both hands. I'm not asking you to prove anything, she said. I'm asking if you'll show up Wednesday. I opened my fingers and looked at the key. Then I put it on my key ring. Yes. Her relief was subtle but unmistakable. She kissed me once, tenderly. Good, she whispered, because Wednesday you're meeting my father. Sofia's father arrived at the new school carrying a toolbox large enough to qualify as luggage. He found me standing beneath the exposed ceiling with the contractor, discussing whether the front partition was load-bearing. Mr. Ramirez looked at my button-down shirt, then at my tape measure. You're young for a contractor. I'm not the contractor. Electrician. Structural engineer. He set down the toolbox. Expensive? According to my student loans. That earned a reluctant twitch of his mustache. Luis Ramirez was 62, broad through the shoulders, and shared his daughter's habit of studying people in silence until they confessed things they hadn't intended to say. You're the student, he said. I am. The one Sofia was sitting on. My tape measure slipped from my hand. Luis caught it before it hit the floor. She mentioned the demonstration, he said. Of course she did. He handed it back entirely straight-faced. Behind us, the contractor developed an urgent interest in the ceiling. Sofia arrived 10 minutes later with breakfast sandwiches. Her expression went from pleased to alarmed when she saw us standing together. You're early, she told her father. You said 9. I said around 9. 9 is around 9. Then she looked at me. Did he interrogate you? We had a respectful professional discussion. Your boyfriend thinks I'm intimidating, Luis said. The word landed in the middle of the room. Sofia glanced at me. We'd kissed on 3 dates, traded messages long after midnight, and spent an afternoon tangled together on training mats. We had not used that word. Her father opened his toolbox as if he hadn't detonated anything. He's not, Sofia began. Yes, I said at the same time. She turned. I could have softened it. Made it conditional. Pretended it was just easier than correcting her father. Instead, I held her gaze. If that's what you want, I added. A slow smile spread across her face. She crossed the dusty floor, slid one hand behind my neck, and kissed me in front of her father, the contractor, and possibly several labor laws. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. That's what I want, Luis sighed. I brought food and already nobody respects me. Sofia kissed his cheek too. For the rest of the morning we worked. Luis repaired a door that hadn't closed properly in years. Sofia reviewed flooring samples. I confirmed the partition could come down once the electrical conduit was rerouted. At lunch, Luis cornered me beside the unfinished office. My daughter does not ask for help, he said. I've noticed. She is asking now. I glanced across the room. Sophia was laughing with the contractor, one hand moving animatedly as she described the training floor. I won't let her down. Luis's expression sharpened. That is not what I said. I looked back at him. You young men make promises like that because you think love means never failing. He closed his toolbox. Then you fail once and decide the promise is broken. What should I promise? Nothing yet. Just don't make her carry your pride too. Before I could ask what that meant, Sophia called us over to settle an argument about wall colors. The next 4 weeks passed in paint, sawdust, and stolen kisses. Sophia finished her notice at Harbor. I moved to Marcus's Monday and Thursday classes while she built her schedule across town. We dated in the spaces around the renovation. Tacos on overturned buckets, late-night walks after supply runs, coffee on the curb before work. I met her cousin, 2 former teammates, and a nervous 19-year-old named Lila who became the new school's first member. Sophia met my brother Aaron, who shook her hand and said, "Thank you for giving him something to talk about besides municipal load codes." She liked him immediately. I considered this a betrayal. One Friday night, we painted the office deep blue. Sophia rolled a stripe across my forearm. I retaliated with a dot on her nose. She stared at me. You've made a serious mistake. 5 minutes later, my shirt had blue handprints across the front, and Sophia was trapped laughing between me and the wall. You surrender? I asked. Never. I kissed the paint from the tip of her nose. Her laughter softened. She wrapped her arms around me and I held her close in the half-finished room. I'm happy, she whispered. The words frightened me with their simplicity. I kissed her hair. Me too. It was true. That was why I began trying so hard not to lose it. When the flooring installer canceled, I found another one. When the city requested a revised occupancy diagram, I stayed up until 2 drafting it. I replaced a broken sink, assembled storage racks, and built a spreadsheet Sophia never requested. Each task gave me a small, clean feeling of relief. Useful men weren't abandoned. Useful men earned their place. Sophia noticed before I did. You're exhausted, she said one evening. We were sitting in her apartment, though sitting was generous. She was curled against me on the couch and I had my laptop balanced on one knee. I'm fine. You fell asleep at dinner. It was a long prayer. We were eating. Pizza. I was grateful. She closed my laptop. I need to finish the vendor list. No, you need to be here. I am here. Her eyes moved toward the laptop. I leaned over and kissed her, intending to prove the point. She kissed me back, but when I tried to deepen it, her palm rested gently against my chest. Grant? What? When was the last time you told me anything about your life? I tell you things. You tell me what time you can meet the electrician. You tell me whether the wall pads shipped. I didn't know you were presenting that hospital project yesterday until Aaron mentioned it. You've been busy. So have you. I'm helping. I know. Her voice softened. But I don't want a project manager. I want my boyfriend. I'm both. Then tell me what you need from me. The same question, the one my ex had asked, the one I'd promised myself I would answer differently. My mind went blank. Sophia waited. I need to finish the list, I said. Pain crossed her face. I hated myself for causing it. I hated the helplessness more. So I opened the laptop again. Sophia stood. You should go home. I looked up. You're throwing me out because I'm working? I'm asking for one honest conversation, and you're hiding behind a spreadsheet. The opening is in 6 days. Yes, and if the shelves are crooked, civilization may collapse. Why are you mocking me for helping you? I'm not. Her voice rose. I'm asking you to stop earning your right to be here. The words struck somewhere tender. I didn't realize caring about your future was such a burden. That isn't fair. No, what isn't fair is telling me you need help, then resenting how I give it. Sophia went very still. This is what your father warned me about, I said. Her eyes hardened. You discussed our relationship with my father? He said you don't ask for help. I asked you to show up. I didn't ask you to disappear into my to-do list. I'm standing right here. No, you're not. Silence filled the apartment. The old instinct rose. Leave before the door closed on me. Retreat before she could say I was too much in all the wrong ways and not enough where it mattered. I packed my laptop. Sophia's anger vanished, replaced by fear. Grant, don't. You asked me to go. I asked you to stop hiding. I don't know what you want from me. You. I want you. I don't know what that means. The admission came out harsher than I intended. Sophia's face crumpled for half a second before she controlled it. That's the first honest thing you've said tonight. I reached into my pocket and set the school key on her table. She stared at it. That's not what I'm asking for. I know. Then why are you giving it back? Because I was scared? Because the school was almost finished, and once I stopped being necessary, Sophia might see there was nothing underneath all the work worth keeping. I couldn't force the words past my throat. So I did what I'd always done when someone came too close. I made space. Sophia folded her arms around herself. The soft opening is Sunday, she said quietly. If you come, don't come to repair anything. Don't come to manage anything. Don't even bring a screwdriver. I waited. Come because you love me, she said. The room tilted. Neither of us had said that word before. Sophia's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. Do you? She asked. I loved her. I knew it with terrifying certainty. But knowing how I felt and knowing how to let her depend on that feeling were two different things. I don't know how, I whispered. Then I left before she could see how badly I wanted to stay. I spent Thursday and Friday doing nothing for Sophia. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done. I didn't call the flooring installer. I didn't update the vendor list. I didn't drive past the school to make sure the front sign had been installed correctly. Instead, I went to work. I gave my hospital presentation. I ate dinner with Aaron and told him everything. When I finished, he stared at me across the table. You told a woman you didn't know how to love her? I said I didn't know how. Important distinction. Thank you. Still remarkably stupid. I pushed my plate away. She doesn't need me. Aaron's expression changed. There it is. What? The thing you're actually afraid of. I looked down at my hands. If she doesn't need me to fix things, I said, what happens when she realizes I'm not good at the rest? The rest being what? Letting someone see me when I'm scared? Asking for something? Staying in a room when I can't solve the problem? Aaron leaned back. You think love is a job you can get fired from? It sounded ridiculous when he said it. It also sounded exactly right. What do? You go Sunday with empty hands, he pointed at me. No flowers, flowers are suspiciously close to a task. I can't just arrive with nothing. That's the entire point. Sunday morning, I stood outside Ramirez Jiu-Jitsu carrying nothing but fear. The new sign stretched across the building in clean white lettering. Through the windows, I could see at least 40 people gathered around the finished training floor. The walls were warm gray, the mats were dark blue. Near the entrance, painted in Sophia's handwriting, were the words, Fear isn't a command. I went inside. Lila spotted me first, then Luis, who stood near the reception desk wearing a school t-shirt. He looked at my empty hands. Good, he said. That obvious? To everyone but you. Across the room, Sophia was teaching. She wore a black uniform with her brown belt tied at her waist. Her braid rested between her shoulders. She looked tired, proud, and more beautiful than I was prepared for. Her voice carried across the room. Pressure is information, don't panic. Frame, make space, then decide where you want to go. Her eyes found me. She faltered for only a second. I didn't wave. I didn't mouth an apology or try to pull her away from the people who had come to see what she built. I sat against the wall and watched. She taught an introductory lesson. She welcomed nervous parents, answered questions, and knelt beside a little girl who was scared to participate. By the end, the girl was practicing break falls and grinning every time the mat caught her. The school did not need me. Sophia had created it without me. She had dreamed it before I knew her and risked herself before I held the key. Strangely, accepting that didn't make me feel unnecessary. It made loving her feel like a choice instead of an assignment. The last guests left after sunset. Luis gave his daughter a long hug, shook my hand, and locked the front door behind him. Sofia and I were alone. She began collecting paper cups from the edge of the mat. "Congratulations," I said. "Thank you. The place looks incredible." "It does." I picked up a cup. "Leave it." My hand stopped. She stood across the training floor watching me. "You didn't come to clean." I set the cup down. "No." "Why did you come?" The honest answer was enormous. I felt every instinct telling me to reduce it to something manageable. I walked onto the mat. Sofia folded her arms. Her expression was guarded, but underneath it I saw hope. That made this both easier and much harder. "I came because I love you." She drew in a breath. "I knew when you asked me," I continued. "I knew before then. I was just terrified that if I said it, you'd eventually find out I don't know what to do with it. You could start by not leaving." "I'm sorry." Her eyes shone, but she remained where she was. "I thought if I made myself useful enough, you'd have a reason to keep me," I said. "Every task felt safer than asking you to choose me." "I did choose you. I know that now." "Do you?" "Yes." My voice broke, and I let it. "You don't need me to build your school. You don't need me to solve every bad day. And I need to stop treating that like a threat." Sofia took one step closer. "What do you need?" Fear tightened my throat. This time, I answered anyway. "I need patience while I learn to stay. I need you to call me out when I hide behind work. I need you not to confuse my fear with a lack of love." I swallowed. "And right now, I need to know whether I've ruined this." Sofia crossed the remaining distance. "You hurt me," she said. "I know. I won't be in a relationship where I have to chase someone every time it gets real." "You shouldn't. If you need space, you have to tell me why. You don't get to put a key on a table and decide for both of us that it's over." "I won't do that again." "You might." The words surprised me. Sofia touched my chest directly over my heart. "You might panic again," she said. "You might make a mistake." "I might too." "Don't promise perfection because we'll both know you're lying." "Then what can I promise?" "That you'll come back to the conversation." I covered her hand with mine. "I promise." She studied my face for a long moment. Then she reached into the pocket of her uniform and placed the school key in my palm. "This still isn't a marriage proposal," she said. "Disappointing. It's also not permission to reorganize my supply closet. What if your system is inefficient?" "Grant. I'll ask first." Her mouth trembled into a smile. I closed my fingers around the key, but I kept looking at her. "I love you, Sofia." "I love you too." Relief moved through me so powerfully my knees nearly gave out. Sofia noticed. Then she hooked her foot behind my ankle and helped them give out completely. I landed flat on my back. Before I could react, she followed me down and settled on top of me, pinning my wrists loosely beside my head. I stared up at her. Was that necessary? No. Abuse of authority? "I'm not your instructor." Her braid fell forward, brushing my shoulder. The first time she'd held me this way, the whole class had been watching. I'd hidden behind jokes because wanting her felt impossible. Now the school was ours to be quiet in, and there was nowhere else I wanted to go. "You're holding your breath," she whispered. "I'm not trying to escape." Sofia's grip softened. "Good." I lifted my head and kissed her. She released my wrists only to slide her hands into my hair. The kiss tasted like relief, apology, and the beginning of something neither of us needed to control. When she finally drew back, she stayed above me. "The supply closet is fine," she said. "It really isn't." She laughed and kissed me again. A year later, Ramirez Jiu-Jitsu had more than 100 members and a waiting list for Sofia's beginner program. I still trained with Marcus, partly to keep our professional boundary clear, and partly because Sofia claimed having me as her regular student would damage our relationship and her patience. I earned my blue belt. Sophia pretended not to cry at the promotion ceremony. Luis did not pretend. I started therapy where I learned that naming a feeling did not cause structural collapse. Sophia learned to ask for help before she was drowning. We still got it wrong sometimes, but we came back to the conversation. On the anniversary of the soft opening, I gave up my apartment and moved into hers. She handed me a new key over cinnamon coffee. "That one means you live here," she said. "Still not a marriage proposal? Your form needs work." That evening, after the anniversary class, we stood beneath the words painted on the gym wall. The school was quiet. Rain traced silver lines down the front windows, just as it had the night this began. Sophia swept my legs and pinned me to the mat one more time. But now, when she leaned above me and asked why I was smiling, I didn't hide behind a joke. I put my hand over hers and told her the truth. Because the woman above me had taught me that making space didn't always mean leaving. Sometimes it meant opening enough room for someone to stay. What would you have done if your jiu-jitsu instructor had pinned you to the mat and looked at your mouth the way Sophia looked at mine? Have you ever experienced something similar? Tell me your story in the comments. And for those who'd like to be a little closer to us, we've opened memberships where you'll get shorter exclusive stories every week with no ads. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.